The break down the summer heat shimmered off the asphalt as Daniel Wright's luxury sedan rolled to a stop on the empty country road. He stepped out, his expensive suit already wilting in the humidity, and stared at the flat tire with mounting. Frustration? Perfect, he muttered, loosening his tie. His phone showed no signal, leaving him stranded miles from the nearest town. 20 minutes later, a battered pickup truck appeared through the heat haze. It slowed, then pulled over behind his car. A young woman hopped out, her auburn hair tied back in a practical ponytail, wearing work boots and oil-stained jeans. "Need help?" she called out, already grabbing a toolbox from her truck bed. Daniel hesitated. "I appreciate the offer, but I can call for assistance once I get signal." She laughed, a warm sound that surprised him. It could be hours before anyone comes out here. "I'm Emma, by the way. My dad runs the garage in town." Within minutes, Emma had his spare tire mounted with efficient precision. Daniel watched, impressed despite himself by her competence and easy confidence. "What do I owe you?" he asked, reaching for his wallet. Emma shook her head, wiping her hands on a rag. "Just helping out a fellow traveler. But next time, maybe. Invest in a better jack." As she climbed back into her truck, Daniel called out, "Wait, can I at least buy you dinner?" "Thanks, but I've got work to do," she replied with a smile. "Take care, city boy." The truck disappeared down the road, leaving Daniel standing beside his car, oddly unsettled by the encounter. The diner, unable to shake thoughts of the helpful stranger, Daniel found himself driving through the small town an hour later. He spotted Emma's truck outside a modest diner and on impulse pulled in. Inside, Emma sat at the counter with a cup of coffee and a repair manual. She looked up as he approached, raising an eyebrow. "I thought you had work to do," Daniel said, sliding onto the stool beside her. "I do research," she replied, tapping the manual. "And I thought city boys didn't hang out in places like this. Maybe I'm full of surprises." Over burgers and milkshakes, their conversation flowed naturally. Emma spoke about growing up in the garage, learning from her father, and her dreams of traveling to Europe someday. "What about you?" she asked. "What do you do, city boy?" Daniel hesitated. "Business stuff. Nothing exciting. Meetings, emails. The usual." Emma studied him with those sharp green eyes. "That's pretty vague." "Trust me, your job is much more interesting," he deflected. "There's something satisfying about fixing things, making them work again." "Exactly." Emma's face lit up. "Most people don't get that." As they talked, Daniel found himself captivated by her authenticity. She was nothing like the polished people in his usual circles. When she mentioned her father's declining health and her increasing responsibilities at the garage, he felt a pang of admiration for her quiet strength. "Well," Emma said as they finished eating, "I guess this is where we part ways. Any chance I'll see you again?" Daniel asked, following her to her truck. Emma shrugged, climbing into the driver's seat. "Guess that depends on you, city boy." She drove off, leaving Daniel in the parking lot, realizing he didn't even know her last name. The search back in his city penthouse, Daniel couldn't concentrate on work. Emma's laugh echoed in his mind, along with her dreams of Italy and her dedication to her father's garage. He'd never met anyone so genuinely unpretentious.
3 days.
Later, he returned to the small town, this time driving a modest sedan. At the diner, he asked the waitress about Emma. "Emma Collins," the woman said warily. "Why are you looking for her?" "She helped me out recently. I wanted to thank her properly." The waitress directed him to Collins' garage, a weathered building 2 blocks away. Daniel found Emma under the hood of an old truck, completely absorbed in her work. "Meeting under cars," he said. Emma froze, then turned slowly. "Daniel, what are you doing here?" "I told you I'd find you," he replied, stepping closer. "I couldn't stop thinking about our conversation." Emma wiped her hands on a rag, her expression guarded. "Look, you seem nice, but we're from different worlds. You'll go back to your business meetings, and I'll stay here fixing engines. Maybe I don't want to go back." "Don't be ridiculous," Emma said, though her voice softened. "I don't know. Anything about me or my life?" At that moment, an older man emerged from the garage office, moving slowly with the aid of a cane. His weathered face broke into a smile when he saw Emma. "Dad, this is Daniel," Emma said quickly. "Daniel, my father, Frank Collins." Frank studied Daniel with sharp eyes. "You're the one who's been asking about my daughter." "Sir, I just wanted to thank her for helping me with a flat tire," Daniel said respectfully. Frank nodded slowly. "Emma's always been good at fixing things. Takes after her old man." He coughed, a harsh sound that made Emma move closer to him with concern. "Dad, you should rest," she said gently. "I'm fine," Frank insisted, but Daniel could see the worry in Emma's eyes. The truth, over the following weeks, Daniel found excuses. To visit the garage, he helped with small tasks, learned about engines, and gradually became part of the daily routine. Emma remained cautious but began to soften toward him. One evening, as they sat on the porch of the garage watching the sunset, Emma finally asked the question that had been bothering her. "Daniel, what do you really do, and don't say business stuff?" He was quiet for a long moment. "Promise me you won't treat me differently." Emma frowned. "What do you mean?" "I'm Daniel Wright." "Wright Industries?" "I own several companies, including the largest tech firm in the state." Emma stared at him, processing this information. "You're a millionaire." "Billionaire, actually," he said quietly. "But that's not who I am when I'm here with you." Emma stood abruptly, pacing to the edge of the porch. "A billionaire, and you let me buy you a burger. Emma, please. I didn't tell you because I wanted you to know me, not my bank account." "This is exactly what I was afraid of," she said. Turning back to him, "We're from different worlds, Daniel. I fix cars and worry about paying bills. You probably have people who do everything for you. That's why being here matters so much to me," Daniel said, standing. "For the first time in years, someone saw me as just a person, not as a business opportunity or a target." Emma's anger wavered. "But you lied to me. I omitted the truth because I was falling in love with you," Daniel said simply. "And I was. Terrified you'd push me away if you knew." The words hung between them in the evening air. Emma looked at him, seeing the vulnerability beneath his confession. "Falling in love?" she whispered. "Completely," Daniel admitted. "The moment you changed my tire without asking for anything in return." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Daniel, I care about you too, but how can this possibly work? Your world and mine, maybe we can figure it out together," he said, stepping closer. "If you're willing to try." The choice Frank's condition worsened suddenly the next week. Spent every moment at the hospital, and Daniel quietly arranged for the best specialists to consult on his care. When Emma discovered this, she confronted him in the hospital corridor. "I can't accept this," she said, exhausted and emotional. "I won't be your charity case." "It's not charity," Daniel said firmly. "It's love. When you care about someone, you do everything you can to help them. But I can't pay you back. Ever." Daniel took her hands gently. "Emma, I don't want your money. I want your heart. I want to build something real with you." Frank recovered enough to return home, and one evening he asked to speak with Daniel privately. "My daughter thinks you're too good for her," Frank said, sitting in his favorite chair. "But I think she's too good for you." Daniel nodded. "Agree." "Completely, sir." Frank smiled. "Good answer. But here's what I see. You make her happy."
"Happier than I've seen her in years."
"And more importantly, she makes you a better man." "She does," Daniel admitted. "She's shown me what really matters." "And don't let her go," Frank said simply. "Money doesn't make a man. Character does." That night, Daniel found Emma in the garage, working late on a difficult repair. He rolled up his sleeves and handed her tools, working beside her in comfortable silence. "I've been thinking," Emma said finally, "about what you said. About trying." Daniel looked up from the engine. "And I love you too," she said quietly. "But I need to know this is real, not some fantasy about the simple life." "Emma," Daniel said, moving closer. "You changed my tire, but you also changed my life. I've never been more sure of anything." "Then I guess we have some figuring out to do." 6 months later, Daniel had moved his primary office to the small town, managing his empire remotely while learning to work with his hands at the garage. Emma had her first passport, with Italy circled on the calendar for their honeymoon. As they stood together watching another sunset, Emma leaned against Daniel's shoulder. "No regrets?" she asked. "Only one," Daniel replied, kissing the top of her head. "I wish I'd gotten that flat tire sooner." Emma laughed, the same warm sound that had captivated him from the beginning. Sometimes the most unexpected breakdowns led to the most beautiful destinations. The end.